have a minute to sit here, and I have the choice of making a video where I'm talking about people, or I can make a video where I'm just telling you what it's like for me. And then I thought about making the video called What It's Like for a Christian. And I don't go to church. My spirituality is extremely private. It's as private as my sex life, you know. I'm not pontificating. And in this video, all I want to say is just sort of like how my life has changed since, you know, I started listening to the good word and handing my life over to do God's work. And for me, it's been an adventure. I think a lot of people think Christianity and they're like, they think it's rigid and boring and those kinds of things, you know, just like church. I don't know how much church really has to do with actual Christianity. I think that churches are kind of more like mini cathedrals. And the cathedrals all pay homage to Rome. So, what it's like for a Christian, especially with what I do, because, well, the government would call me a spy, I guess, or something like that, you know, an undercover agent or whatever. But that's just because they have a certain language that pinpoints and targets people who compete with their agenda. And Christians are pretty much at the top of the list, but that's exactly why they've made so many who call themselves Christian, but they're not. One thing about it, one of the key things is that you're not just joking around in life anymore. You know, you're serious and you're looking at life as it really is because you're trusting that that's the truth. And a lot of people think that you're not looking at evidence if you're a Christian. But you're actually looking at evidence a lot more than other people. A lot of people just take what they hear from other people and they ignore all other evidence. And for many Christians, we have to pay a lot better attention because we're having to prove ourselves all the time. So you'll actually see even more footnotes, and we're consistent. We're going to do proper footnotes every time. Some people, they start out doing that just to get your attention, and then they sort of lay off and start pontificating. And then they become resentful when you call them on it because they feel like they did what they needed to do to work their way up. And yeah, if they've worked their way up in terms of popularity or money or fame, then, especially right now, then it's likely that they're being made to think that, you know, their pontificating is correct. And when you make someone popular and famous and everything, a lot of times that'll get them to stop doing the work. So, you know, in the case of David Wilcock, he's not a Christian. In fact, he used his platform at the moment of truth to say that there would be no second coming of Christ. I have a lot of him on the record, things that you can't find on Coast to Coast AM anymore, or whatever, because they want you to know who he is now, which is just a space pusher. And I love him to death. I fell in love with him when he came out before. I knew that he was true to the word. And then the way you corrupt someone is by making them famous. then they think they're done. Because in reality, you don't get rich and famous until you've actually touched people on an individual level. And involved them in the same work that you do. It shouldn't be you always at the front of the room. So, yeah, I guess I thought I wouldn't talk about anyone, but I'm looking into him a lot right now because I think it's innocent. I think he's totally innocent, but yeah. You'll notice that his demeanor now is totally different. I mean, he sounds like a surfer dude. There's a frickin' dome on the moon, whatever. Like, frickin'. You just don't do those things when you're a Christian. You're serious. Because there's a lot of those things are called sins. And see, in Christianity, there is no right and wrong because you can repent. Now, there are various, I'm not going to say they're gospels because they're not the gospels. They're testaments to the gospels, apparently. And there's a lot of right and wrong in those. But in reality, there's no right and wrong because you can always repent. And God understands that life is a process for us. And what he's asking for is not perfection, but persistence. He's asking for perfection from himself because he's capable of that. He's only asking anyone, including himself, what he's capable of. And we see what he's capable of, and then we try to cover it up with our infrastructure. And the reason why I can say he and God, like as if it's one person, it's not one person. But we're meant to take on the individual perception. And that's the difference between us and animals. Animals have a group soul. We have a group soul and individual identities. So yes, another thing about being a Christian, if you happen to do dangerous work like I used to in the past, just the kind of work that makes people want to kill you or eliminate you. And if you don't know what I'm talking about as that being real, or if you need more information on whether or not that happened to you, I uploaded a video yesterday. I uploaded 2 yesterday, but one is Intel, and you can look more into that. They've exposed themselves completely, but you're not supposed to find it because the internet is all crowded with every blah, just junk. So that's why you can't really get to straight intel. But as a Christian, you can, because you know not to follow the herd. You follow your heart. And your heart is not just, lollipops and rainbows. I have nothing against that idea because I love rainbows, but your heart is getting you to face greater truths. But not only that, it's been proven that there's actually neurochemicals in the heart, and that the heart has precognition. You may not be aware of your heart thinking words. We have other systems that do that, but your heart changes its rhythm based on, a certain harmony. And if you think about harmony, that's how you distinguish present, future, past, and everything before it's happened or after it's happened. If you realize that things are in harmony, then you know which notes are coming next, and that's how that works, the precognition. Now, in order to be spiritual and not be swayed by demons and devils, you need a guide, and that's what Christ is. There is a living Christ, and the space movement is doing everything in their power to contradict that, but the truth is coming to be known. And I guess that's pretty much all I'm going to say right now. But thank you for listening, and I'm not saying that you need to become a Christian or that you're so great because you're a Christian or any of that. I'm just sharing with you like a different way of life, you know, a life where you use guidance instead of hearsay. I'll see you next time. This is Cat Moon Erickson.